Upon invitation last 20 years, I have traveled in 13 countries 7 times to deliver lectures, especially on Ramakrishna Vivekananda, Shankara philosophy, Bhagavad Gita, correlation of science and spirituality, so on and so forth. It's high time for Indians to realize the great essence, the necessity of Vedanta, especially in our day-to-day life. We have enough spiritual pontiffs, wonderful philosophy, very effective correlation between science and religion, but as our Justice Kumarji rightly mentioned, it was not carried on to the logical conclusion, and majority of the populace of our country doesn't know even the minimal amount of the essence of such great works. It's a big surprise for all of us if I quote an incident that took place, a conversation in between a Christian padri, a missionary, a Maulvi, and a Hindu monk in one of the international conferences. That padri was asking the Hindu monk, Swami, do you think 10% of your Hindus knows that there are 4 Vedas? Are you sure that at least 1% of Hindus can quote 10 shlokas from Bhagavad Gita? Do your Hindus tolerate their children going to ashrams or temples very frequently? A Muslim can pray 5 times a day, either going to mosque, if not in the place where he is engaged. By the time our child in Islam completes 16 years of age, he has done at least 1000 namaz. A Christian boy have gone to church for 500 times. Are you sure that your Hindu child will go to temple at least 100 times by the time he completes his 16th years of age? You must answer. You must answer. And finally, he did not keep quiet. He said, Hinduism is just a preaching religion more than practicing. We must introspect on this last sentence. That is why I told you, I was thinking all these days what I should speak in this wonderful conference, the retreat, because we have half a dozen very learned pandits to deliver lectures on the different facets of Vedanta. So keeping that in mind, since you have given me an opportunity to be the guest on the inaugural session and to give Ashirvachanam, it is very vast, wide. I have the freedom to touch upon any of the most important aspect that is very much needed. So please bear with me if I quote something outside Vedanta, but I can assure you that whatever I speak, it is ultimately, indirectly, it is strengthening the ethics of Vedanta. I, being a graduate of science, I cannot teach Vedanta without quoting science. Can you imagine the silliest statement of one Westerner will take him up to the stage of Nobel Prize when he said, a man can change his life just by changing his attitude towards life? If you study Shankaracharya, perhaps in 10,000 pages of his commentary, this happens to be in some of the nook and corner of one of the chapters, which is of not much importance, I must say. And the sentence uttered by this man was recognized worldwide. That speaks very much about how much we are aping the Western philosophy. And if you go to 100 Bangaloreans' houses, you have at least 60% of the houses, they have a book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, authored by Dale Carnegie. It is very much visible in their showcase. Very much visible in their showcase. But they don't know. The author of the book committed suicide. Come on, show me one great saint of India, after preaching so much, met his end with suicide. You don't know. You don't know. I was in Assisi, a place known for Francis. One young college boy, he was with me in the railway station. We were waiting for the next train to travel. He got fascinated to converse with me in the leisure time. See, at the same time, one young girl ran to me and she was so much surprised to see this colored cloth. Of course, she was wearing a cloth very near to this color. She said, "Sir, I don't know you, but my dress, your dress are very much similar," she said. What fascinated a Celtic-blooded young girl to run to me, introduce herself, especially with the matter of her dress, which was identical. And what your intellectuals in India say, "Kavi kandu durairu." This is the utterance what you find in the place where Kavi was born. The Gangotri of Kavi is this. Those people whose history is not more than 100 years, 1,000 years, say, 1,500 maximum. This speaks about the pathetic condition of our mindset. We have conveniently ignored our own great tradition, our own legacy, our own values. Shankaracharya, while advising the householders, he made 2-3 beautiful statements. Shall I put that? Number 1, there must be harmonious atmosphere, harmony among the people in the society, irrespective of their varnas. Unity is a must. Unity is a must. Second advice was, every householder must go to the Mathadipati to have Shastra Jnana. Every householder. Number 3, most important, every parent in the house must teach their children about Dharma Shraddha and Rashtra Bhakti. When Shankaracharya, who said Jagan Mithya, who declared Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, who said material prosperity will not suffice to take you to greater levels of evolution, he is telling every parent must teach his child, lad, about Desha Bhakti, patriotic spirit. Shankara was a great patriot. That is why he travelled along the length and breadth of the country, and his footsteps were followed by great Vivekananda. Many of the Vedantists, the orthodox people, have not realized the importance of Vivekananda. If Vivekananda had not come, you just imagine the pathetic condition of this country today. It would have been good to dogs. He was the first Jagadguru who went outside the country, made the whole West to realize about Hinduism and Vedanta. And when our Justice Kumarji was quoting about the recent developments about Sanatana Dharma, I think you observed Swami Nirbhayananda Ji's Sanatana Dharma news hour, perhaps the only monk in the whole of country who responded so wonderfully and effectively. Afterwards, it was self-explanatory to one and all in the country, and it had absorbed more than 1 crore views. 1 crore. See, that was The greatest reply Sanatana Dharma expected, I must say. And of course, this foolish fellow, as our Justice Kumarji rightly said about the person who mentioned using the word Gomutra, this foolish fellow doesn't know that Gomutra is a very powerful medicine to kill so many germs in the country. And we pray, we aspire that he should not be one among the germs. So now coming to the point, my dear Bengalurians, do you really know that human evolution is not mere organic? It is not mere organic, or it is not mere metabolic evolution. It is a socio-cultural evolution. It is a psychological evolution. And that is why it is said, man can enjoy intellect more than the animals enjoying their sexual activities. Kama is not the be-all and end-all for a human being. Right? So we must always keep in mind that as great philosophers the world has observed, have proclaimed, Plato for example, man is a social animal. Aristotle, man is a political animal. Sigmund Freud, man is a sexual animal. Alvin Toffler, man is an economic animal. One of the founding fathers of America, Benjamin Franklin, who said, man is a tool-making animal. Ultimately, that was concluded by Indian utterance, man is a spiritual species. You just imagine. See what a great utterance of Vedanta that attributed to the greatness of Homo sapien, the greatest species in creation. So we are all Homo sapien. We must give more impetus, more importance to our thought power, our moral and ethical values of our day-to-day life, rather than improving ourselves only merely with respect to material prosperity. People have sites in all the four directions of Bangalore for their children. One site in 8th phase, JP Nagar. One is Sringeri, one is Yelanka, another in Electronic City. But they lose sight, SIGHT. They have plenty of SITES. So be proud that you are a spiritual species. When I say you are a spiritual species, you should equally know that a country cannot be raised just by raising the roofs of the buildings, but by raising the minds of the people. The thoughts will rule the world. Be careful about your thoughts. God may forgive your thoughts, but your nervous system does not. Why did India miss the World Cup today? In spite of our continuous 10 victories earlier, we were miserable failures in the final. Why? I should quote the words of Vivian Richards, the former captain of West Indies, who said, as far as the mind power is concerned, Indians are mustache babies. See what an amount of victory they had in the previous 10 matches. And in the last match, in spite of support from 140 crore native people, you were all confined to your houses on the day of finals. Every run you were observing. And even though India got all out for a minimal score, you had a ray of hope in your mind that they will be made out a few runs before, so that we will celebrate our victory. That could not come to reality because of 10 people who could not encash the encouragement, the zestfulness, in toto, the positive energy of the whole country at large. What does it speak? That speaks about We have conveniently ignored our thought power. We have minimized the influence of our thought power in our day-to-day life. And we have ignored the greatest fact that my attitude of today will decide my altitude of tomorrow. This attitude should be subordinated, supplemented by our great thoughts, thoughts of positivity, thoughts of what we call in Sanskrit, dhanatmaka, sakaratmaka in Sanskrit, I must say. Do you know the role of money? Money can be a blessing from the heaven or a ticket to the hell. Even a ticket to the hell. Money can take you to a place where you wish, but it will not give you the seat of a driver in the vehicle. So it has got its own limitation. That is why in one of the Subhashitas, the writer says, earn huge money, with the help of which please protect your wife, your parents, your children, relatives, kith and kin. Kith and kin is a very popular word, but later on you will understand they are all kith and kin. You will understand that. ಬಂಧುಗಳು ಆಗುವರೆಂದು ಬಾಯಿ ತೆರೆದು ಕುಳಿತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಂಧು ಬಂದು ತಿಂದೇ ಹೋದರು. Purushottam Ji writes, our Guru. When he wrote this, ಬಂಧುಗಳು ಆಗುವರೆಂದು ಬಾಯಿ ತೆರೆದು ಕುಳಿತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಂದು ಬಂದು ತಿಂದೇ ಹೋದರು. One old mother, after the prayers, she came near Swamiji and said, Swamiji, ಬಂದು ಬಂದು ತಿಂದೇ ಹೋದರು is an incomplete truth. ತಿಂದು ಹೋದರೆ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಂದು ಬಂದು ಕೊಂದೇ ಹೋದರು, she said. We honor her words because she is a mother of great experience. So, please, we must keep in our mind that enlightened citizens, Prabuddharu, Prajnavantaru, cannot be produced in a factory. They have to come through proper education. Perhaps nowhere in the whole world you come across the greatest definition of the word education, what you find in India. Savidya ya vimuktayet. Darkness in Indian context is not just absence of KPTCL power. A few minutes before we experienced that. An English teacher was teaching some opposite words for the high school children. She was asking the children, what is the opposite word of brightness? Children were very sharp. They said, ma'am, it is darkness. She was extremely happy. The next room was observing physics class by another eminent teacher. He overheard this, and his next period was in this class. After he occupied this classroom, he asked, who was handling your class in the previous period? Children said it was English class. I was hearing the word something like opposite words. What was that exactly? The children said, sir, ma'am was asking for the opposite word of brightness. What did you say? Darkness. What did ma'am say? She appreciated us. No, you're a fool. Brightness and darkness are not opposite words. They are not contradictory. They are complementary. According to physics, even darkness is also a light of lesser frequency, but not zero frequency. The teacher of the first physics, he made it very clear. So this is science. When we study optics, in the first chapter, my teacher will teach us light travels in a straight line. By the time we approach the last chapter titled Interference, Diffraction and Polarization, my teacher very politely said, light can also travel in waves. If you ask the teacher, yes, sir, matarta idare neevu, onde semester alli gomukha adralla neevu, ಮೊದಲನೇ chapter alli light travels in a straight line andre, ಕಡೆ chapter alli light travels in waves andre. What a paradox. ಆಗ ಮೇಷ್ಟ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದಂತೆ, see, this is physics. As far as first chapter is concerned, light travels in straight line. As far as last chapter is concerned, it can travel in waves also. So this is the limitation of your material science. That is why Albert Einstein rightly said, science can denature plutonium, but not the wickedness of human heart. That's why Albert Einstein said, more than a life of success, I respect a life of values. He concluded by telling that people say it is intelligence ultimately that makes a man a great scientist, but I disagree with that. It is character that makes a man a great scientist. So finally he could realize, after getting 2 Nobel Prizes, he could realize that there is definitely a great part of the role of character, wisdom, morality and ethics in the success story of every individual. So how India defines education? Vidyanama narasya rupam adhikam prachanna guptam dhanam. Vidya bhogakari yashas sukhakari. Vidya gurunam guruhu. Vidya bandhujane videshagamane vidya paradevata. Vidya rajasu pujyate natu dhanam. Vidya vihina pashu. See, this is the utterance of Raja Bhartruhari, who had 3 Shatakas to his credit: Shungara Shataka, Niti Shataka, and finally Vairagya Shataka. Perhaps the only person in the whole of the world, humanity I must say, who could, out of his own experience, contribute 3 Shatakas pertaining to 3 different facets of human life. Vidya rajasu pujyate natu dhanam, vidya vihina pashu. Americans, they want Indian software engineers. They have huge money to their credit. They lack intelligence. Do you know American youths are working for petrol bunks? Do you know among first 10 ranks, more than 6 ranks are captured by our Indian children in the foreign universities? Then what has happened to education system in India? People choose the government they deserve. Tumkur stayidoni hospital. The only point, the responsibility what you have on your shoulders is to increase the population. Government will take care of the rest of the things. ಹೊಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸೈಕಲ್ಲು, ತಿನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಹಾರ, ಕಾಪಿ ಹೊಡೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳು. ಜನರನ್ನು ರಕ್ಷಿಸಬೇಕಾದವರ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳೇ ನಕಲು. ಹೇಳೋದು ಈ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಎನಿ ಪ್ರಾಸ್ಪರಿಟಿ ಆರ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ರೈಟ್ ವೇ? This is where the shoe is pinching. This is where exactly the treatment is needed. That is why Swami Vivekananda, after touring all over the country before leaving for America, he said, increase of knowledge without increase of wisdom will increase the sorrow. These are all Vedantic words in modern language. These are all the Vedantic words, Vedantic extracts, I must say. That is why Nani Palkiwala said, enlightened citizens cannot be produced in a factory. They have to come through proper education. And he used to tell, when we were students, there was leakage of our school buildings, but today there is even leakage of our question papers. And shall we solely depend on the worldly prosperity life what the Westerners are enjoying? I shall quote before you the words of Edward Charles Spinoza, who was an eminent neurologist from United States, who says, excessive sensuous gratification invariably it brings physical and mental illness. Why the number of counseling centers is increasing in Bengaluru every day? What is the need of a laughing club? A JP Nagadal Huchuchar Nakki, it went up to court. Laughing club. Laughing, smiling has become a costly affair today. Nagod bada costly affair agide ivattu. Janna nagod martubittiddare. This is the ill effect of modern life, modern civilization. At the same time, you listen to this another beautiful utterance. Under the impact of secular lifestyle, man gets all his spiritual, noblest and highest qualities destroyed. This is an utterance of another great thinker called Carnard Lawrence, who authored a book titled 8 Capital Sins Committed by a Civilized Man. Again, I am repeating why I am quoting all these words. If I directly go to Vedanta and Vedantic studies, na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena, if I want to explain it, or otherwise something like the 5 dimensions of human life. In biology, you come across ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, right? But in Taittiriya Upanishad, you come across Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, ultimately Anandamaya Kosha. What does it mean? Annamaya Kosha is the physical dimension. Pranamaya Kosha is energy dimension. Manomaya Kosha is intellectual dimension. Vijnanamaya Kosha is scientific dimension. Anandamaya Kosha is spiritual dimension. Till date, not a single scientist could beautifully analyze the different dimensions of a human personality in such a wonderful pattern, what the rishis of Taittiriya said. See, this is the greatness of Vedanta. Shanno astu dvipade, shan chatushpade. What does it mean? I pray for the welfare of not only the living beings with 2 legs, but also for the welfare of the animals with 4 legs. Chatushpade. Nodi yochane madi. Do you know the first convocation in human history? The very first convocation address in human history is a contribution of Indian rishis, which is being titled as Acharyopadesha in Taittiriya Upanishad. Satyam vada dharmanchara swadhyayam ma pramadaha Acharyaya priyam dhanamaratya prajatantum mam vyavachetsi. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. What is Swadhyaya? Swadhyaya. In the outer look, it looks as if it is self-study, Swadhyaya. But in the inner text, it is studying the self. It is not only self-study. Studying the self. You must study yourself to know much about you. Out of your own efforts to know. You must inculcate a great virtue called self-vigilance. You are very fond of vigilance department. But here the Rishi is telling you must develop self-vigilance. At the end of every day, you must look into what all the deeds you did throughout the day. If at all anything is necessary, you must put a correction to your own acts. Out of your own wish, you must do that. Itaravannu geddavanu shaktishali, tannanne geddavanu sarvashakta. Shaktishali is mass, sarvashakta is class. Attitude of mass and attitude of class, do you know? Both will have a mobile in their pocket. Mass will disturb the mass. Class will keep the mobile in flight mode. Got it? They do have a mobile in their pocket, but that should be a slave rather than ruler. So I quoted about the first convocation address that happened thousands of years back in human history. Even today, when Dr. S.C. Sharma was Vice Chancellor in Tumkur University, we together discussed, and finally when Governor was invited for the convocation, I served under Dr. S.C. Sharma as visiting professor of the Center of Vivekananda Studies for 22 months. Even now, just I came from Rupatunga University, I am a visiting professor there, teaching the subject philosophy of Vivekananda twice a week. I had a class from 8 to 9. Now in between I am here. Again at 1:30, between 1:30 and 2:30 I have the second class. And from here directly I am going to next class. So I enjoy, it's my passion, teaching is my passion. So I was telling you, Dr. S.C. Sharma was kind enough to introduce the text as it is when the governor arrived during convocation. So India has contributed the convocation address for the first time in the history of human. Do you know this? This is the greatest contribution of Vedanta. The greatest contribution of our Upanishads. The Prasthanatraya, I mean. Don't you feel you are proud about that? And later on, after thousands of years, one gentleman arrived and his name is Artego Y. Gasset, who authored a book titled History of Mission of Universities. In that, he beautifully says, every student, irrespective of the particular subject of his degree graduation, he must have the minimum knowledge about the following 5 aspects. Number 1, the physical scheme of the universe. Even though he is an arts graduate or a commerce graduate, he must have some knowledge about physics and chemistry. The fundamental theme of organic life, I mean biology. The third aspect is the historical process of human species, that is history. The structure and functioning of social life, that is sociology. Finally, the plan and the purpose of the universe, which includes philosophy, culture and religion. So recently, even the Western thinkers on education have ended up telling that education must give philosophy, culture and religion to the children. And this is what you observe thousands of years back. Vidya vihinaha pashuhu. Vidya vihinaha pashuhu, which means the greatest difference between human and non-human or subhuman is the matter of the concept of education. See, this is the greatest contribution of India. And this is ultimately the output of our Prasthanatraya. You study Vedas, Gita and Upanishads, of course, with Brahma Sutra. What an amount of great message you are blessed with. I challenge you, if you can show me, a single word has undergone amendment in the whole of Bhagavad Gita in the last 5,000 years. How many times your constitution has undergone amendment? Show me a single word in the whole of 108 Upanishads. A word has undergone amendment. Come on, please show me a single incident which was not questioned minimum 1,000 times before it got inducted into the pages of Veda. That is why it is said, Hinduism, Vedanta Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, has got the capacity to digest any amount of attacks, any amount of invasions, but still it remains very strong and vibrant. If I say this, you may not believe, since it is the word of a saint belonging to Sanatana Dharma. I shall quote the words of Napoleon a few days before his demise. As you all know, he was imprisoned in an island called Saint Helena in Italy, very near to Venice city. he started introspecting. He told 2-3 friends who were with him in the prison, see, Alexander, Charlemagne, Julius Caesar and myself, we could build empires upon the power of the sword. But today we are in a very pathetic condition. Not a single soldier is ready to come for our rescue here from this island. But you see the great spiritual personalities of the human history, they have their following getting accelerated geometrically after the demise. They had 100 followers during their lifetime. Today they have 10,000 followers after the demise. So now God has taught me a great lesson in my life, that the power of the Spirit has always vanquished the power of the sword. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯಿತು? ಖಡ್ಗಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಮಾನವ ಇತಿಹಾಸ ಎಂದೆಂದಿಗೂ ಆತ್ಮಶಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ಸೋಲಲ್ಪಟ್ಟದ್ದನ್ನು ದಾಖಲಿಸಿದೆ. What is that power of the Spirit? Atma-Shakti. Can you realize this Atma-Shakti concept is from Vedanta? Unless and until you know the different dimensions of human personality, if you confine yourself only to the physical and sensual strata of your personality, you are gone. So Vedanta, the greatest help of Vedanta is that it has elaborately described human being and all the different phases of his personality and a beautiful elevation in the journey of evolution. That is why Vivekananda directly disproved the words of Darwin on the stage of Chicago by telling that Darwin said there is struggle for existence, but Indian philosophy says it is not struggle for mere existence, it is struggle for expansion. I may win over my external enemies at a particular point, but the greatest enemy that is left out is within me then. My own attitude may not be very complementary to my growth, the journey of growth. I have to control my negative vices. I must put some promoter for the positive acceleration of my positivity and ultimately ascend the ladder of success. Hope you are all comfortable with my talk. Hope I am not disturbing your sleep. Sorry. Are you comfortable? Yes. See, this perspective I very much intended to present before you, because intellectually, the whole intellectual strata of the world has surrendered itself at the footfalls of Advaita of Shankaracharya. See, this is the greatness of Vedanta. You blindly need not agree with my statement. I want to quote another great man, R.A. Millikan, who happened to be an astrophysicist, who says there are two pillars that will constitute the overall development of any individual, one pillar being religion and another pillar being science. He continues, to acquire more and more knowledge in the field of science, you have the assistance of universities, research centers, you have to pass through certain examinations, later on only you are eligible to pursue. But with regard to religion and spirituality, every human being is free. He is being blessed with that wonderful freedom to pursue his spiritual growth without any CET, without any entrance exam, without going to the doorstep of any university. Why? He stopped there itself. Vivekananda justified the statement a few decades before when he says, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity. Do it by karma yoga or jnana yoga or bhakti yoga or raja yoga and be free. Books, temples, churches, mosques are but secondary details. No books, no temples, no churches, no mosques can ever imagine the glory of self that appears as man. Idana Shankaracharya ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, the greatest sin one can commit in this world is to think that one is mere organic body. When you study Advaita, you keep all the avatars as secondary citizens. They are not the be-all and end-all for human beings. In Dvaita philosophy, you end up with Hari Sarvottama. You end up at the stage where incarnation is the ultimate. But in Advaita, as Ramana Maharshi rightly said, Bhakti is the mother of Jnana. After you become Paripurna Bhakta, then you will pursue towards the destiny of Jnana. Andre ಏನು ಅರ್ಥ? You should imagine that when you accept the God, the Almighty in the form, that is finite. You should further pursue to reach a truth, absolute, eternal truth, which is beyond sense perception. ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಾತೀತವಾದ ಸತ್ಯವೇ ಆಧ್ಯಾತ್ಮ, ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಳಪಡುವಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸೀಮಿತವಾದ ಸತ್ಯವೇ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್, ಕೆಮಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ, ಮ್ಯಾಥಮೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್, ಬಯಾಲಜಿ, so on and so forth. Newton said something with regard to atomic structure. Rutherford, he refused many of the postulates propounded by Newton. Today's Big Bang theory, modern physics, with folded hands, it is at the doorstep of Shankara's Advaita. If I say this much, you will not understand. I shall tell you one thing. This is a metal, this is wood, this is paper. So, in the massive form, they are different. I shall cut it to the level of atom. Even at that stage, this is an atom of a metal, this is an atom of wood, this is an atom of paper. Even at the atomic level, they are different. Now I shall cut this atom further into subatomic level, where I find proton of atom, proton of metal, proton of wood, proton of paper. At that particular stage, the proton of one element is as same as the proton of another element. This is according to modern physics. That is what Shankaracharya 1200 years back said. At Atman level, we are all alike. ಆತ್ಮದ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಒಂದೇ. ಸಮಾನತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ? ಆತ್ಮನ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ. ಪ್ರಾಪಂಚಿಕ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆತ್ಮನ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಜಸ್ಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಿ. ಸೊ ಅಟ್ ಸಬ್ಅಟಾಮಿಕ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್, ಪ್ರೋಟಾನ್ ಆಫ್ ಐರನ್ is as same as proton of wood and as same as proton of paper. Like that, every human being is alike at the Atman level. This was said by Shankaracharya almost 1200 years back. So this great man Millikan says, to pursue more and more into spiritual education, you don't want any permission from anybody on earth. You don't want permission. To pursue material science education, you need to get admitted into a research center or a university, so on and so forth. Which means the greatest truth in Indian tradition, that each soul is potentially divine. The real nature of any human being is more a spiritual identity rather than the organic identity or the metabolic identity. So this is the greatest contribution of Vedanta to the humankind at large. From womb to tomb and beyond, if there is only one source of inspiration, confidence, guarantee that can answer all the questions, all the obstacles of human being, it is Dharma, it is religion. Religion is realization according to Vivekananda. Religion is being and becoming according to Vivekananda. Religion is the manifestation of divinity that is already in man according to Vivekananda. That is why when Swami Vivekananda traveled all through the country, he wonderfully could draw the reality of the people at large. He says, I have traveled far and wide, including the central province, but I could not get a single self-made man in India. Mind you, if at all, if you come across a self-made man in India, he had his education not in India, but elsewhere. And he says, my experience today is, give light to poor and more light to rich. Give light to uneducated and more light to educated. And finally he concludes, the so-called educateds of India are next door neighbors to brutes. By the time they complete their 16th age, they become refugees in their own country. The first lesson Macaulay teaches our children is, your parents are foolish. Second lesson, your teacher is a lunatic. Third lesson, all your scriptures are bundles of superstitions. By the time you complete 16 years of education, you are a liability to your own country. You are very fond of getting out of your country. And a person without having respect and love for his own country, how can he serve his country is $1 million question. Bengaluru ನೋಡಿ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ. Bengaluru ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ. I run shortage of time to explain that in detail. Confucius, another great philosopher, used to tell, if a man is not blessed with manliness, manushyattva illade iddare, he cannot tolerate poverty for a longer time, ಬಡತನವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಾಲ ಸಹಿಸಲಾರ. At the same time, he cannot enjoy richness and keep up richness for a longer time. ಮನುಷ್ಯತ್ವ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯು ಬಡತನವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಾಲ ಸಹಿಸಲಾರ, ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಾಲ ಆನಂದಿಸಲಾರ. ಸೊ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೇರೆ, ಹ್ಯೂಮೇನ್ ಬೇರೆ. ರೇಷನ್ ಕಾರ್ಡು ವೋಟರ್ಸ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ನಾವು ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಬಿಗ್ ವೇ. ಲೋ ಏಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ರೈಮ್. ಯೋ ವೈ ಭೂಮಾ ತತ್ ಸುಖಂ ನ ಅಲ್ಪೇ ಸುಖಮಸ್ತಿ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಅಟರೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಛಾಂದೋಗ್ಯ. Think in a big way. Low aim is a crime. Yadeva vidyaya karoti shraddhaya upanishada tadeva viryavattanam bhavati. When you do any of your works out of knowledge, vidyaya karoti, shraddhaya karoti, out of commitment and conviction, upanishada karoti, out of determination, sayeva viryavattanam bhavati. Then only it can yield you maximum and all your efficiency will be fortified. ನೋಡಿ, ಇದನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ನಾವು. ಈ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ಈ ಪರ್ವ್ಯೂನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ we will enjoy Vedanta. It is not something like reading between lines. Please, please. Even if you cannot read it in Sanskrit, at least in the first step you understand the theme of the mantras. Just the theme of the mantras. Can you believe a person who was selling newspapers on the railway platform became the president of this country, and every day lakhs and lakhs of newspapers all over the world used to record whatever he uttered during the different functions he attended. Dr. APJ. Today, the Deputy Commissioner of Mandya, Dr. Kumar, a very thorough gentleman, when he was in high school, during Union Day, one great poet of that time by name, Professor D. Jauregoda, he was guest on the dais. In his keynote address, he said, "My dear children, you have a name to your credit, but it is my wish to see that there must be a prefix and suffix to your name. This sentence was seriously considered by Shriman Kumar. Then he did KAS. He secured 7th rank in KAS. He became Kumar KAS. He did not forget that there must be a prefix. He did PhD in e-governance, appreciated by President of India in those days, Shriman Pranab Mukherjee. And he could get doctorate to his credit from one of the universities in Karnataka. He became Dr. Kumar KAS. Recently he got promoted to IAS. Today he is Dr. Kumar IAS, the best administrator in the country. Recently he received the award also. And surprisingly, when he was pursuing his PU and degree education, he was selling newspapers. He was distributing newspapers to the doorsteps. And he used to serve in the STD booth to earn his 2 meals a day. But today, whatever he speaks in Mandya district and Mysore district, those words will be reverentially honored, and the press will identify their news in a very magnanimous way. So this is what Upanishad said, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham, na alpe sukham asti. Na alpe sukham asti. You must keep this in mind. Never think that desiring or aspiring for a greater destiny is a curse or a fault. You have to aim for something great in your life, but that should be properly achieved through passing through the proper channel, the journey. That is what Vivekananda said. Goals are important, but means are more important than goals. Take care of the means, it will take care of the ends, because you don't get something out of nothing, out of law of conservation of energy, physics. Before I conclude in 2 minutes, it is my earnest desire to bring to your kind notice that one great incident happened in the life of Albert Einstein. Once he attended astronomers' conference in the Western countries. One astronomer, he was beautifully mentioning about one very scintillating truth pertaining to astronomy. He said, to an astronomer, the astronomer is telling this, to an astronomer, man is nothing more than an insignificant dot in the infinite universe. To an astronomer, man is an insignificant dot in the infinite universe. Albert Einstein was very much present in the gathering. Later on, he came onto the stage, craft, and said, Sir, I have often felt that very much. But then I realized that that insignificant dot, who is a man, is also the astronomer. So, in our Artha Madkodbekaddeno, man is the creator of history. He should not remain a creature in history. It is good to read history, but it is better to create history. He can create. To create history, he not only needs the physical energy like Alexander's or Napoleon's physical energy, he must be bestowed with spiritual energy, moral and ethical energy. Nowadays, world is more bent upon knowing about the SQ of an individual, which is the spiritual quotient. So these are all the things which are all the echoes of Vedanta, I must say. Knowledge is power, as Justice Kumarji rightly said, but it is power for evil as well as for good. It should not stop at the stage of knowledge. Education is information in the first stage, knowledge in the second stage. It should not stop there itself. It must end in the stage of wisdom. That is what Shankaracharya said and termed it as Yukta Yukta Viveka. The power to discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. Idu artha madkoli. Idನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ wisdom is a must. Unless and until you reach the stage of wisdom, you are not educated in the fullest sense. Even the Christian missionaries, a personage by name Robert Ernst Hume, a Catholic missionary, he says, the earnestness of search for the truth is the greatest delightful and commendable feature of Upanishads. Upanishads always recommend for the search of truth. That is why Vivekananda said, curse the sin but not the sinner. That is why during his wandering days in Himalayas, when Vivekananda met one young monk, a very vibrant monk, a conversation took place in between. That monk said, Swamiji, do you know Pavahari Baba? Pavahari Baba was a great saint of North India. He was living in a place called Ghazipur. Pavahari Baba, as the name signifies, he used to consume only air for his survival. He never took food, solid food to his stomach. Pavahari. A thief entered his ashram in a midnight. He saw huge amount of utensils that is good for day-to-day utility. He tied all the utensils in a cloth, made it a bundle. He carried it on his shoulder, started running away from the spot. Unfortunately, he was caught by somebody. When he was caught, the thief looked at back. He saw Pavahari Baba himself, who chased him and was successful in catching this thief. Then Pavahari Baba told this thief, Narayana, ಈ ಎರಡು ಪಾತ್ರೆ ಯಾಕೋ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಇದನ್ನೂ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗು. ಕಳ್ಳನ ಕಥೆ ಏನಾಗಬೇಕು? ಪಾತ್ರೆ ಕೆಳಗಿಳಿಸಿದ. He fell down on the feet of Pavahari Babaji and said, ನಾನು ಕಳ್ಳತನ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರ ಕಾರಣ? ದೇವರೇ. ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಹಿಡಿಯೋಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾರ ಕಾರಣ? ದೇವರೇ. ಆ ದೇವರೇ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಏನಂತ ಕರೆಸ್ದ? ನಾರಾಯಣ. ಆ ನಾರಾಯಣನನ್ನೇ ಹಿಡಿತೀನಿ ನಾನು, ಇನ್ಮೇಲೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಕಳ್ಳತನಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. Vivekananda was surprised to hear this story. Then what happened? Swamiji, do you know that thief went to Himalayas? That is another big surprise. He started doing tapasya. Finally, he determined to take sannyasa. He is none other than me, he said. ಅವತ್ತು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ತಮ್ಮ ಡೈರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, if you say every saint had a past, then every sinner must have a future. ಇವತ್ತು ಸಂತನಾದವನಿಗೆ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಜನ್ಮಗಳ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರದ ಬಲ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇನಾದರೂ ನೀವು ವಾದಿಸೋದಾದರೆ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ದುಷ್ಟನಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆಯಾಗಿ ಸಜ್ಜನನಾಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೇಬೇಕು. See, this is Vedanta. ಬೇಡವಾ ಇದು? Curse the sin, but not the sinner. Sin remains a spin in human history. Sin remains a sin. But a sinner can get transformed into a worthy man. Something what happened in the life of Chandala Ashoka, becoming Devanam Priyaha, Darodikora Ratnakara, a robber Ratnakara, becoming Maharshi Valmiki. So this is the greatest perspective, the very wide perspective what Vedanta attributes to the spiritual evolution of human being. So these are all the things that we come across in Vedanta, as Shankaracharya, who did wonderful work in human history for the upliftment of human race, socially, politically, spiritually. In his foreword to Bhagavad Gita, as Vivekananda rightly said, the greatest work of Shankaracharya was his excellent commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So one of his greatest contributions, Vivekananda quotes. And Shankaracharya says, Dvivido hi vedokto dharmaha, pravrutti lakshanam nivrutti lakshanascha, jagatah sthiti karanam, praninam sakshat abhyudaya, nishreyasa hetuhu, ya sadharmaha. The facet of dharma has got two folds, pravrutti lakshana and nivrutti lakshana. Pravrutti lakshana is our life outside, without. Nivrutti lakshana is life within. For every individual, you have these two facets of individual life. I cannot merely indulge only in the pleasures in the external world. Slowly I start going inside, which is being termed as man moves onward, forward, inward and Godward. Finally, he will go in search of his own destiny. ನಿನ್ನಯ ಗುರಿಯು ಆತ್ಮದರುಶನ, ನಿನ್ನೊಳಗೆಯೇ ಇದೆ ಆ ರತುನ. ಬಣ್ಣ ಪಡುತ್ತ ಈ ಕ್ಷುದ್ರ ಜೀವನದಿ, ಇನ್ನು ತೊಳಲದಿರು ಮುನ್ನಡೆ ಸಖನೆ, ಉತ್ತಿಷ್ಠತ ಜಾಗೃತ. ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವೃಷೋತ್ತಮಾನಂದಜಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳು ಹೇಳಿದಂತಹ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರ ಸಂದೇಶದ ಒಂದು ತಿರುಳು. ಇದನ್ನು ದಿ ಸಾಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿನ್, 1000 ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ಅಂತ ಅಮೆರಿಕದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರು ದಿ ಸಾಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿನ್ ಅಂತ ಬರೆದರು. ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೆ ತರ್ಜುಮೆ ಮಾಡಿದವರು ಕುವೆಂಪು ಅವರು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರು ಬರೀತಾರೆ, ನಿಜವನರಿತವರೆಲ್ಲೋ ಕೆಲವರು, ನಗುವರುಳಿದವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ, ನಿನ್ನ ಕಂಡರೆ ಹೇ ಮಹಾತ್ಮನೆ, ಕುರುಡರೇನನು ಬಲ್ಲರು. ಗಣಿಸದವರನು ಹೋಗು ಮುಕ್ತನೆ, ನೀನು ಊರಿಂದೂರಿಗೆ. ಸೊಗವ ಬಯಸದೆ ಅಳಲಿಗಳುಕದೆ, ಕತ್ತಲಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಚಾರಿಗೆ. ನಿನ್ನ ಬೆಳಕನ್ನು ನೀಡಲೈ, ಸಂಸಾರ ಮಾಯೆಯ ದೂಡಲೈ. ಇಂತು ದಿನ ದಿನ ಕರ್ಮ ಶಕ್ತಿಯು ಮುಗಿಯುವವರೆಗೂ ಸಾಗೆಲೈ. ನಾನು ನೀನುಗಳಳಿದು ಆತ್ಮದೊಳಿಳಿದು ಕಡೆಯೊಳು ಹೋಗೆಲೈ. ಏಳು ಮೇಲೇಳೇಳು ಸಾಧುವೆ, ಹಾಡು ಚಾಗಿಯ ಹಾಡನು. ಹಾಡಿನಿಂದೆಚ್ಚರಿಸು ಮಲಗಿಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ತಾಯ್ನಾಡನು. ತತ್ವಮಸಿ ಎಂದರಿತು ಹಾಡೈ ಧೀರ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿ. ತತ್ವಮಸಿ ಎಂದರಿತು ಹಾಡೈ ಧೀರ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿ. ಓಂ ತತ್ಸತ್. ಓಂ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರ ಆಶಯ. See, this is the essence of Vedanta, the message of Vedanta. You have a galaxy of great thinkers and people with philosophical mind to deliver lectures for rest of three days in this seminar. I wish the entire seminar a great success, and I thank our organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be a part of this institution, incidents that too, to inaugurate and deliver the keynote address. I heard most revered Sannidhanam Sri Vidhushekhara Bharati Mahaswamiji was very much bent upon my participation in today's program. When a few people went from Tumkur to Sringeri, he was asking our devotees, Veereshanandru ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಾ, Veereshanandru ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಾ, ಅವ್ನು ಹೋಗಿ ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಾ? Then I said, ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡೋದೇನು ಬೇಡ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ. I had so many programs on either side of the function. I wanted to adjust that, and finally, how could I miss such a golden opportunity? I conveyed this message to Sannidhanam also, and today I am very happy to be a part of today's seminar. Once again, I thank our organizers. May Lord bless you all. Jai Ramakrishna.